Good afternoon, everybody. I hope it's been a good holiday weekend, long weekend. This is Stephen from WinExtra, and I have with me today Mark Rizzn Hopkins standing in for Paula Flaherty, who's doing a lot of kid wrangling over the holidays. Now, Mark and I go back, I guess, quite a ways, don't we, Mark?
It's been a few years now.
Yeah.
I haven't looked on my calendar, but it's been a number of years.
Elite Tech News, I think, was where we first really started communicating with each other on a steady basis.
Yeah,
that's what, 3 years now, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been at least 3 years because that was back in my Mashable days.
Yeah, me too. There for what, all of a couple months before I pissed them off. Yeah, I think I got to be one of the few people who's actually been blackballed from there.
Well, the number of people that get blackballed from Mashable has increased over the years. I think I'm officially blackballed at this point. So,
so we're on safe ground that way. Anyway, yeah. I hope you had a good holiday. You treated you well.
Fantastic holiday. A lot of fun.
Although I will say I am disappointed about one thing, and I know it's not your fault. Okay, but an Android phone, man, come on. Where's the love?
If my Metro PCS would release a Windows Phone 7, I would be the first person in line to go pick it up. But my old phone here is a Windows 6.5, and it's just not cutting it anymore. I mean, I just can't do the stuff I need. So I've got the it's the let me make sure I'm saying it. Huawei Android phone. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm hoping that February will see me with a Windows Phone 7 in my hands, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. Anyway, on with the stories. It's been, obviously, because of the holidays, it's been pretty light as far as any real Microsoft news is concerned, but we did manage to drag up a couple today. The first one I want to go is France wants to extend private copy levying to tablets, but not if they run Microsoft Windows. What?
Yeah, that's strange to me. The Microsoft's lobbyist group in France must just be freaking supreme. Like, they're earning their pay.
Or somebody's got a nice little cash nest egg sitting somewhere.
Yeah, this is Europe. There could be some payola going on there. I don't know.
I don't get. What I don't get is okay. The whole copy levying, we have that in Canada. All right, when you buy CDs or blank CDs, blank DVDs, I think they even tried to bring it in for the iPod, but that went downhill. But yeah, we pay a tax on blanks, and that still makes no sense to me. It's a holdover from the cassette days, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. Why? Does that make any sense to you at all?
Well, I mean, explain, because I'm not familiar with this. I don't really focus on foreign legal stuff as much as I probably should. Explain the whole copy levying thing.
Okay, basically what it is if you buy, now apparently what they want to do is if you buy a tablet computer that is running Android or iOS, which means an iPad or what's the Galaxy S, whatever it is.
Yeah, the Galaxy S.
You're going to pay a tax.
Just a tax for using an operating system, basically?
Basically, because what they're saying is it's to cover the loss of revenue from content producers.
Okay. So this is like this is the private copy levy thing is like what you have in Canada where you pay a tax on like physical media.
Yes.
And so this is a tax on virtual media to make up for the loss that we no longer use physical media, basically.
I think in around, but what they're doing is they're passing that tax onto the actual hardware. So when you buy a tablet, you're going to pay, if it's an Android tablet or an iPad, you're going to be paying, $10, $20, maybe $30 more. Okay. And that's what they call their private levy. But what doesn't make sense is why they're making the difference between a Windows tablet and an Android tablet. Mm-hmm. That doesn't make sense for you. Like, I am, good on Microsoft. Like you said, they've obviously done some heavy-duty, lobbying on this, but
I've actually been reading a book called The History of Private Life by Bill Bryson, and Europe actually used to have a Windows tax in like the 1700s, but it was on actual physical Windows, and it proved to be so disastrous on building, on actually the economy due to the inability to build stuff with Windows, that maybe Europe has just decided we're never going to tax Windows ever again, because we know it's like prohibition in America. We know what happens when you do that.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't make much sense to me, and I don't get it myself. Maybe anybody out there from France can. Hey, Pierre, if you're watching this, give us some leeway on this one, would you please?
Yeah.
Next up, Windows Phone 7 Marketplace hits 5,000 apps. Now, why this is a big deal, and people are kind of going, well, yeah, so what, is that this is in like, what, 2 months?
Yeah, no, this is a big deal.
Yeah.
This is a very big deal. Because, and I am the only one, because we do a lot of like mobile-centric coverage over at SiliconANGLE, and there's like a little subgroup of us that like to chat about this mobile world. And I am pretty much the only one that's continuing to say that I believe that the Windows Phone 7 is going to be a big winner because of the developer world. And you got people like Robert Scoble, and I can't remember who else was involved in this discussion, but there was people talking about like this exodus of Windows developers. Where? Well, I don't see it. Yeah. If there's a big exodus, there's like 5 left that are making 6,000 apps. It's really happening.
No, I know. But it was like, what was it took? The article, I think, is WebOS. Okay, is over 6,000, but it's been up there for 18 months. Whereas
the other thing about WebOS is that includes a lot of really old Palm apps that have been ported over, and Palm has been around forever.
Yeah. No, it's good to see, and I've been following a lot of the developer angle to this, and I know there is a lot of love for the tools.
Well, I mean, this is why it doesn't make sense to me that people would badmouth it, because think about it. What is the easiest and one of the oldest programming languages out there? It's freaking BASIC.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And, it's also much the same syntax you saw in Fortran and COBOL, which we all know goes back a pretty long ways.
Yeah.
People know how to write in BASIC. And if you can write in BASIC, you can write for Windows Phone 7.
Yeah. Well, especially now, like Silverlight is like, it's just drop dead easy to work with. And
it's no Flash, I tell you that.
No, definitely not. I still get highs thinking about from my attempts to work with Flash. But no, that big argument was, I think it was basically between Scoble and Louis Gray, because Louis Gray wrote an article to do with Android and iPhone, and Scoble came back with this and that, and it was like, would you
I mean, because Scoble's also been dripping this, like, developer exodus rumor on Twitter for, like, weeks now, I've been noticing, and I'm like, you know what, where are you even getting that from?
Well, look at the fact, okay, there seems to be this thing about high-profile people that have worked at Microsoft that once they leave, it's like their job to badmouth anything the company does. Like, you've got Scoble, you got Don Dodge. Mm-hmm. He's over at Google now, and there's nothing that Microsoft can do that's any good.
Right.
So like, when it comes to what Scoble has to say these days, to a very large degree, I take with a grain of salt. I really do.
You know what? He's got a good head on his shoulders. It's just that I don't agree with his viewpoints. I think he's plugged in enough so that he's right often enough to pay attention to.
Yeah.
But his analysis often lacks, and that's not I mean, he's not an analyst, so no, I mean, he's not going to pretend to be that. So.
One of the themes that I see really big for 2011, I'm actually going to probably write up a piece about this, is Kinect. I think it's going to be the breakout technology of 2011.
I should have prepared my. We got a stack of Kinect games like this high.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, like we love it over here.
Oh, you play it a lot then, do you?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I've lost weight.
From a technology point of view, because I haven't had a chance to play with it, I don't know what it's like. All I can go by is what other people are telling me. Is this a real big winner for Microsoft, even outside of the game arena?
Well, okay, beyond the gaming arena, and it's a big win in the gaming arena. I mean, we've actually, and we didn't even mean to, we've thrown Kinect parties at our house because my wife will invite her volleyball friends over and, we'll have some hot dogs and someone will turn on the Kinect and it's just like magic. It just draws people in. And we have sold more Kinects for Microsoft that way than I think some of the Best Buys have. But in terms of on the computer side, I was one of the early folks to look at this technology as it was described when it was Project Natal.
Same here. Yeah,
this is going to be a game changer on the desktop.
Yeah.
Because when I was at Mashable, the underlying technology was being developed by some startups that were then later acquired by Microsoft out in Israel.
Yep.
And they were talking to me about this. It was actually a Canaan Venture Partners project out in Israel. And when they were describing what they were able to do with it back then, I was like, you know what? This is fantastic stuff, very Minority Report, but who's going to be able to afford it? And Microsoft bought it. Microsoft made it affordable. It's changed.
I wrote today about how even right now, there's this whole hacker environment that's being built up around the Kinect, and people are just doing absolutely incredible things. We've seen the actual Minority Report, idea being done. Now we've got World of Warcraft being Kinectified. I can see how it's going to change the gaming that way, but I still come back, as cool as that might be, I'm not that much of a gamer to that point that Kinect means that much to me. But you talk to me about on the desktop, and I get really excited about this stuff.
Oh yeah. It's a productivity. Here's how I refer to it. It kind of loose. This is how we got into covering it over at SiliconANGLE, is because it loosely ties into my whole theory about Xbox being a vehicle for the personal cloud, which is a cloud is a big thing we cover over there.
Yeah.
But what it really is, what the Kinect really is, it's the first innovation in input systems in the last 60 years, because we're still working with keyboards and mice, which are decades and decades and decades old.
Yeah,
there's been no innovation there.
The only innovation we've seen as far as they're concerned is being going wireless, and even that's not 100% any good.
And to me, the last big attempt at saying we're revolutionizing the input world was Steve Jobs when he debuted the iPad.
Yeah.
And he's going, "Oh, this is the biggest innovation in computer input output." Oh, you kidding me?
Yes.
I mean, really. The Kinect. Hello.
Yes. No. The Kinect is. Like I said, and I truly believe this. 2011, we're going to see a massive breakout in technology using Kinect. It's just going to be amazing. The one other thing that Microsoft, I guess, apparently got heavily involved in was this Stuxnet virus that was going around. I read the whole article. It's on Wired, and it's well worth reading the whole thing of what it took. Like, Microsoft hasn't been involved in the whole thing, but only parts that are affected by the Windows environment. And some of the things they found are like, this virus or worm or whatever you want to call it was so sophisticated that it affected XP differently based on unknown vulnerabilities than it affected Vista and Windows 7. And it was like these guys that came up with this virus, I'm sorry, these are not your average script kiddies at all.
Yeah, I really do need to dig into this. I think I haven't actually gone into it because it's one of those things I want to sit down and probably write a response to, and I always kind of put those off to the side. But with security in general, like the whole idea behind the way they approach it now is so next level.
Yeah,
is that it really is amazing. And we had some guys on at VMworld on our video broadcast from Microsoft talking about security. And these are guys that, I mean, they didn't say it on camera, but people were telling me off camera, these are guys from like Bill Gates' inner circle, right? So these are, these are some pretty high up folks, and they are so sophisticated. I mean, they're talking about like game theory as opposed to, they look at it kind of like how Google looks at, growing their user base. When Google says, okay, we want to get bigger, they don't think about, okay, what do we do about the company getting bigger? They think the only way for us to get bigger is to make the internet bigger.
Yeah.
And Microsoft is the same way about security.
Yeah.
They look at, okay, well, Microsoft and Windows, the install base is so huge that when we think about security for that, we can't really think about it from a microscopic level about what we can do to plug holes. We got to think of it from a macroscopic level. Yeah. What do we do to disincentivize the hackers from getting into our systems?
Do you remember when the first Blue Hat conference and the amazement that there was in the community that Microsoft was actually pulling in both white hat and black hat hackers into basically private conferences to say, look, this is what our product is. What are we doing wrong?
Right.
And that alone was a major shift, I think.
What year was that? I don't remember.
Oh, that's got to be a good 5 years ago. That is Windows Vista Longhorn era.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And that really sort of, I think that was a changing point for Microsoft with their relation with the techies.
That was the era where the chief security officer from Microsoft left the company, who I actually did some research on when he joined the Obama administration. The guy was running security for Windows at Microsoft, was actually a graduate of the University of Phoenix Online.
Oh God.
That was the Windows NT, Windows 95, 98 era, Windows ME.
Oh God!
So, after that, which is when the era you're talking about, they got serious about it.
Yeah, and it's something that's been slowly percolating through the company. I've noticed because I remember when Internet Explorer 9 first started getting out there, they went to Reddit of all places.
Mm-hmm.
Saying, look, guys, this is what we're doing.
Give it a shot.
Tell us what we're doing wrong, or tell us what we're doing right. And granted, Reddit is the typical, we'll slam you just because we like to slam you, but I think it did work out well for them. Now, the cloud. This is something you wanted to talk about because last week Paul and I talked about a post that showed up on SiliconANGLE. Google Chrome OS is Microsoft's nightmare by Anton Wallman, I guess his name is. And
let me first start out by saying when Anton's a contributor of ours, a regular contributor, and a fairly smart guy. When this came across my desk, I saw the headline and I was like, I know I'm going to hear about this, but we always publish pretty much anything he posts because he's a really good writer and he's fairly smart. His primary sector of coverage is mobile, right? Okay. And he comes from like the macroscopic business end of mobile analysis. So keep in mind, his forte is not desktop minutia techie stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He's like the guy you want to call when you have a question about, remember that story a few weeks ago? We were talking about the FBI put some stuff into the kernel of BSD, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
He's the guy you call when you want to know the skinny on that.
Okay.
He's also a really rich hedge fund trader. I hope that's public knowledge because it's something I know. I don't know if he tells people. So he's smart enough to know about, and he deals mostly with tech stocks and tech investments. So he's smart enough to make $1 billion in that.
Okay, he's a smart guy, but I'm sorry, he's still wrong.
He's wrong. Yes, I agree. And the reason why I went ahead and published this is because he's also the kind of guy that will pull a Dvorak. He thinks with his editorials like 2 or 3 moves ahead, and he likes to rile people up sometimes. He also published something about 9 months ago. It said why the FCC should be abolished. Just for the heck of it. He also likened network neutrality is basically socialism with another post of his. So he likes to throw out those little fire bombs. So he can respond with follow-up editorials to just kind of. So I let him do it, but he is fundamentally wrong. Beyond the slight errors in adding stuff up. Adding the numbers up. Yeah. That was one of the things you guys picked on. And you're right. you can get Office for $10 if you know how to do it. He's coming at that from like an enterprise perspective. He's like, the buying guy over at the IT department.
Excuse me, hang on a second, but if there is an IT department head that is paying $300 a license for Microsoft Office, he needs to have pink slip. They're not paying that money. You and I both know that.
At the small business level, if you're not smart enough to buy that master Windows OEM pack where you get like everything for $700, you could pay upwards. But the pricing schemes are kind of built to screw the mid-sized small business.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you look at the website and you get the prices, that's what you're going to find. It's like $300 for Office. If you're like a large company or whatever, basically he didn't do that good of research on that. He just went to the website, got the prices.
Yes.
Fine. Beyond that, Microsoft doesn't give a crap about Google Chrome OS because, as we talked about, I think on the Cynical Bastards show at some point, was that Google Chrome attacks a market segment that neither Microsoft nor Apple gives a care about. Microsoft is not losing money, but they're not making a lot of money on like the netbooks. I mean,
no.
Because half of them are installing XP at by and large dead OS anyway, that they don't want to support. And Apple, if they're not going to make like 1,000% markup, they don't want your business, and you're never going to get that on like a Chrome OS buyer is never going to pay 1,000% markup. They're wanting it because it's cheap. Yep. They're wanting it because it's very small and doesn't do much. So. What Chrome is attacking is the other 65% of the world's population that cannot afford a desktop or laptop machine as we now understand them to be. There is a whole, because you got to think about Google's guiding strategy in everything. They want to grow the size of the internet, so they will grow the number of people that use Google.
Okay, I understand that, but there's also, I think there's a fundamental flaw in that, and that is one that mobile just seems to want to gloss over no matter what you're doing. And that is, okay, Chrome OS is coming out on these net tops, and it's internet-based, and it's being, like you said, geared to the socio-economic group that cannot afford a desktop. Well, if they can't afford a desktop, how are they going to be able to afford an ever-increasing broadband fee that they're going to need to run these things?
And this is what I think will happen on that. In the same way that Amazon subsidizes a very low-quality broadband connection for Kindle, I think that Google will be able to afford subsidizing a low-quality, kind of similar low-quality data connection, because they're making money back on every little app that you use because they're all Google apps. And what do Google apps run? They run Google Ads.
Yeah. I don't know. I still think the biggest weakness of anything cloud-based is the connection. Okay?
Of course it is. Yeah, I definitely agree.
And as long as those gatekeepers keep treating the connection like a golden goose, you and I are screwed.
Yeah, but this is the discussion that Anton and I have a lot with regard to that mobile world, is that you are seeing some beautiful upstartism, and this is a topic I tackled in my network neutrality post a couple weeks ago. Is that if you look, because the whole network neutrality thing, I won't get into that.
Yeah, no.
There's a part of my illustration was talking about how there is a kind of renaissance of the mom and pop internet shop in certain parts of the country. If you look at Colorado Springs area and just do a search for WiMAX providers Colorado Springs, and you will see a competition. I mean, Clear doesn't even have territory there. Clearwire, there is 40 different competing mom and pop shops that will offer you WiMAX.
See, again, and I understand why. This is a total U.S. centric mindset. See, up in Canada, all right, there is only one DSL backbone.
Yeah.
Okay? It's Bell. All right? If you want DSL, you can only get it from Bell. No matter who you buy it from, whether it be Montreal Raw or whatever it is, they're buying it from Bell. Okay? Bell sets the rules as far as that's concerned. Cable, you've got 3 major players, I think. you got Shaw, Cogeco, and Rogers.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't have competition up here, and we're getting screwed left, right, and center.
But you might get competition, and here's why I'm saying it, because the WiMAX doesn't fall into the traditional categories of broadband or wireless phone service if it's marketed the right way. And I'm not intimately familiar. I don't pretend to be intimately familiar with the laws on internet service in Canada. There may be a law that prevents them from actually ever doing that. But the cost to launch an internet provider that does WiMAX has dropped significantly in recent years, thanks to the massive amount of buying that Clearwire has done of those types of antennas and radios that you need for that. It's brought down the price because they spent something like $18 billion on it. Yeah. So there's extras laying around that mom and pop shops can buy if they want.
Yeah.
So it brings down the cost of starting an ISP, similar to what it costs to start up an ISP for dial-up back in the 90s.
Yeah.
So.
Well, anyway, that's we're getting low on time here.
Yeah.
Actually, quite low on time, and I'm sure you've got a busy schedule ahead of you. But I want to thank you for jumping into the fray for today. Mm-hmm. Actually, I want to do this a bit more often, but I got to wait until the technology sort of joins up here, because I'm waiting for VodBurner to support multiple streams and blah 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 blah. But if it does, I want to start doing maybe roundtables once a month, and I want you in on them. So all right. But on that note, folks, this is Stephen from WinExtra, and that is my good friend Mark Rizzn Hopkins from SiliconANGLE and Rizzn.com. One business note, I've opened up a Zazzle store. I think it's called Zazzle. Is that Zazzle? Yeah, Zazzle.com. The link will be down there for you. Just got a couple goodies in there right now with WinExtra logo crap on it, so check it out if you want. But until tomorrow, this is Stephen. Have a good day, everybody.